Okay, so um, this is going to be a little bit more of a formal video, minus my shitty background. Um, I'm in my garage, which is also my at-home gym, so there's some stuff in the background here, tools and whatnot, and then all of my workout equipment is kind of where, well, I had a camera, I guess, minus my Bosu ball. Anyway, today, as you can see, I have better lighting too, because I'm not driving. But today I wanted to talk about anxiety in general. I don't know if I touched on this or not in the past, but for me, anxiety, like, I don't know how to explain it, which is a good thing I'm doing a video on it to explain it. Um, so first, let's discuss what anxiety actually is. Now, mind you, I'm not like a professional. I'm not licensed. I'm not, formally educated. Um, but I do read everything. And I've been going through my own journey, obviously, which is what has sparked this YouTube channel. And I always repeat the things that I always do videos on the things that I find myself consistently repeating. So, I've been helping some friends along with their anxiety problems, and I just kind of want to talk about it. So, what is anxiety? Anxiety is a chemical response in your brain that causes your body to go into fight or flight mode, fight, flight, or freeze. Um, and it's perfectly normal. It's something that we need to survive. It's part of the basic lizard brain, if you will. Um, there's a lot of studies on anxiety and prolonged anxiety and what it does and how it releases cortisol and um, it adds to the level of stress in your body, and you can have a lot of physical and physiological side effects, specifically in your stomach. A lot of people have digestive problems and gut health issues, as they say, when they're in chronic anxiety. A really, really good friend of mine, for example, her issue is she's just not hungry. And when she eats, she feels ill. I personally, when I'm in the throes of an anxiety problem, and I don't want to necessarily say it's a panic attack, because a panic attack for me is a little bit different than an anxiety attack, which is a little bit different for me than having an anxiety issue like throughout the day. Um, it's all a little bit different. Uh, when my anxiety is activated, so that's what I say, you'll hear me say I'm activated. So my anxiety is activated and it's pretty severe. I get super nauseous. Um, and it just doesn't go away. I just stay nauseous. And, there's a lot of other things. I get shaky. Like earlier today, I was doing something and I have a lot of anxiety around it. And I was trembling. I had the shivers. And that's just my nervous system blowing off the energy. I don't know if you've ever seen any like wildlife videos where like a gazelle is being chased by I was going to say a bear, but a gazelle is being chased by something that wants to eat it. When it's done, it vibrates or shivers violently for a couple minutes, and that's just its body blowing off the excess energy. So, why is a fight or flight response something that happens with people? Well, it's because we have a higher brain. Like, you can think yourself into having a survival response over something as silly as, I forgot to pay a bill, or um, my girlfriend didn't text me back fast enough. These are things that, for some reason or another, trigger your subconscious mind to believe that your life is in danger, and you have a physiological response, which causes you to have these emotions of fear. Um, Fear in and of itself is something that I have to work through, that I've been dealing with for a long time. But I should write notes and stuff before I do videos, because I'm all over the place. um, when we think ourselves into a fear response or an anxiety response, we very easily get stuck there because we're smart. So we feel a certain way, and then it makes us think a certain way, and then we repeat the feeling. And like an emotion only really stays in your body for 60 to or really stays in your mind for 60 to 90 seconds, which is just enough for that hormone to be completely released, and then you have a physiological response. So that's true with every emotion. For me personally, I used to just feel anxiety and anger. Those were the two things that I felt. Like, yeah, I would laugh and be in a good mood and stuff, but that wasn't a positive emotion as much as it was just an absence of the negative emotion, which was still there. So for me, with my anger issues, it felt like a burning coal that just sat right here in my chest, and it was always burning, it was always smoldering. And then when something happened to stoke it, it would fan and it would get hot, and I would act accordingly, which was never a good thing. It's never good to act out of any emotion. Even if you're super happy, you shouldn't make decisions. And then my anxiety lives between my belly button and my collarbone, and it's a vibrating, it's a trembling, and then when it gets severe enough, it bleeds into my limbs, and then I think rapidly. And I have been working on controlling my anxiety issues for a very long time now, and it's not the things that cause the anxiety that I am working on. It's the nervous system addiction, because your nervous system responds. It creates neural pathways in your brain, and the more you have it, the more you do it. And they say if you hang on to anxiety, oh fuck, what is the number? There's a magic number. If you stay within a state of anxiety over anything, I want to say if it's an hour or longer, it changes your body chemistry, and that is what is considered post-traumatic stress disorder. It doesn't have to be something as severe as almost getting murdered or being in war or something. It can be anything that causes prolonged anxiety in your body, literally anything, and it can be diagnosed as PTSD. And there are a zillion different techniques, but the main thing that I think is most important is to learn how to calm your body down, because that's when being activated causes you to do crazy shit. I know for me, way back in the day, when I had issues with a girlfriend, I would have a bunch of anxiety, and the only thing that would calm me down is if I went and talked to her or went by her house, which she wasn't ever really open to. She's just like, go away, I don't want to talk to you right now, and that would cause me to go into a fucking spin. And now I don't have many times when I act out of anxiety, except, I don't know, last week I did something. I didn't do something, but I kind of X'd somebody out of my life in a place of anxiety, and it was a mistake. I shouldn't have gone up to my friend and been like, hey, you know what, we're done, lose my number. That wasn't something that I wanted to do. It was just because I was in a state of anxiety, and I had calmed myself down and was like, okay, this is what I want. But it turns out I was still in a place of anxiety, and upon reflecting on it the next day when I was completely calm, So understand that these things can last and stay with you for a long time. And it can be anything that triggers your anxiety at all. For me, I have a really weird set of negative core beliefs that we won't get into. That'll be a different issue or a different video. And when people do certain things or behave certain ways around me, it automatically causes my anxiety to activate. And before I even know it, I can be in a state, an anxious state, and not even know that I'm there. I'm just like frantic, and it takes me a couple minutes to be like, oh no, this is anxiety. Why am I feeling it? Oh, I'm feeling it because this happened. Okay. But I know that this severe of a emotional reaction isn't because of that one thing. That one thing doesn't matter by itself, but I've had a lifetime of reinforcing this response, this nervous system response. So my nervous system is activated, and I'm having anxiety, and I need to calm my body down. So you'll see a bunch of videos for something called square breathing. which for me is my go-to when I'm in a really, really bad spot. And I mean, it goes back to, I mean, there's all kinds of references to having a solid base. And if you sit and you think about what breathing is, it is the most basic human need. If you don't breathe, your body cannot live. Like, it's just what it comes down to. It's kind of the boss. And if you pay attention to your body, which I really implore all of you to start doing, start paying attention to the cues in your body every day. Every time you feel something, like for me, the opposite of anxiety is love. So when I feel love, specifically for myself, which you should all work on loving yourself, I feel it in the same area as I feel anxiety, but it's the opposite. Instead of a vibration, cold feeling, I get the warm fuzzies. Just like, kind of like when you take a shot of a really strong alcohol and it kind of burns your stomach a little bit. It's kind of like that, but it's completely in my core, which is really interesting for me personally based off of that. But it could be something different for you, you know. But I digress. So if you're in a state of anxiety, square breathing is the simple technique of breathing in for a certain amount of seconds, holding it for that same amount of seconds, breathing out for those seconds, and holding it for those seconds. So 6. So you breathe in 1, hold it, breathe out. Okay, so that's in for 6, I held it for 6, out for 6, I held it for 6. Now the thing that a lot of people get confused on is just breathing in and stopping. You want to be from completely empty to completely full within that 6 seconds or 5 seconds or 4 seconds or 10 seconds, whatever you want to do. You want to hold it for the 10 seconds and just count in your head. It doesn't have to be perfect. Obviously mine wasn't perfect if you're counting it. And then you want to go from completely full to completely empty in your chest for those 6 seconds. And then hold it empty for those 6 seconds. And that will be like the empty feeling when your lungs are completely empty. That's where you're going to your body's going to want you to gasp for breath, but don't do it. Understand that that's where your control is over yourself. That's where your control over your body is. And if you do, and you just keep doing that until you calm down. It can take 5 cycles. It can take 5 minutes. It can take 5 hours. Just keep doing it. And make sure you belly breathe. Don't breathe in your chest. Okay? I mean, you can belly breathe and then expand your chest if you want to, but you want it to be in your breath. So if you don't know how to do that, put a hand on your chest and put a hand on your stomach. And when you breathe, what moves? You know, for me, my chest is always high because I work on my posture because I compete. So I'm always walking around with my shoulders back and my chest up, which probably makes me look like an arrogant bastard, but you know, I need good posture, and you should all work on your posture as well. It helps you with your mind. There's connections with people having strong, confident posture, as I'm slouching, having strong, confident posture and having strong, confident thoughts. There's some studies there, and they don't really know what comes first, which is really interesting. I am always thinking, so my mind I can be perfectly fine in 1 minute and then think myself into a panic attack the next minute. Now again, for me, a panic attack, an anxiety attack, and extremely high anxiety are completely different things. A panic attack for me feels like I'm about to be murdered. My body reacts and I usually freeze. My heart just pounds in my chest and I can't breathe. An anxiety attack is like the opposite, except my heart still pounds, I get really fidgety, and my breathing, I like start to hyperventilate. And the anxiety attack, so like the panic attack will just happen for a couple minutes, and I'll calm myself down and I'll kind of be okay. The anxiety attack will be what sparks my entire day of anxiety. Now, the trick that I've learned, no, I shouldn't say the trick, but the major thing that I've learned is that your emotions and your anxiety and your feelings about anything don't influence the actual things that are happening unless you act upon your anxiety. Perfect example. Let's do a really extreme example. Say you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend and you're having a lot of anxiety that they're cheating on you because you haven't heard from them for a day, or they went out for friends and you didn't hear from them all night or something, right? This is just a common thing I can associate anybody have. So that gives you anxiety or panic or whatever your negative emotion is. Having the feeling that that is happening doesn't actually mean that it's happening, right? It's going to happen whether like it's happening or it's not happening, completely independent of you or your emotions about it. But if you're panicking and you start accusing and freaking out and blowing up their phone, not only are they more likely to just kind of push you away because you're acting like a jealous fool, it might push them into somebody else's arms, or it'll be more likely to influence that person. So regardless of what the influence or the outcome is, your anxiety won't influence the situation unless you act upon it. So next time you have anxiety and the next time you freak out, just sit with it. Like, we are so inclined as people to be afraid of emotions and be afraid of feeling things. That's why we sit and we play on our phones. That's why we're on Instagram and TikTok and all these things all the time. It keeps our brain busy so we don't have to feel the uncomfortable things. But feeling the uncomfortable things is how you reach a little bit of enlightenment, a little bit of self-understanding, a little bit of self-love, and understand that no matter what happens to you, you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. Your life goes on. Without that person, without that job, without that problem, having the emotional reaction to it doesn't do anything but upset you. And I say that as somebody that has panic all the time. I mean, I am always on a different level of anxiety. Like, there's something called the resilience zone, right? So if you're really high and activated, your anxiety and your vibration, your energy is way high, right? So you're up here, you're peaked, you're manic. And being out of your resilient zone on the bottom, you're depressed, you're sad, you can't get out of bed. And most people's lives do this. If you sit and you pay attention, we're all pendulums. So if we're really, 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 really happy and feeling joy one day or 1 minute or 1 hour, sometimes, especially if you're a little bit unhealthy, it'll swing to the other end and you'll be depressed. That doesn't mean that you're manic depressant necessarily, but you know, I know for me, I'm a pendulum. And I'll have, like, when I have really low days or weeks or months, I know that I'm going to have really high days or weeks or months, really happy. But the trick is to widen your resilience zone with these breathing techniques, with meditation, which I've already talked about meditation, with reading, things to help your self-discovery. Because I personally think anxiety is caused by a lack of control and low self-esteem. That's what I think the main core problems of anxiety are. And the reason why I say that is, imagine not having control over something. For example, a car. You're driving a car and you have no control over that car. You're going to have a lot of fucking anxiety over it, right? Same thing with life. You think you can control everything around you, so you have anxiety when you can't. But the truth is you can't control anything but yourself. You can only control yourself. And even then, a lot of people don't know how to do that. So work on it, and that'll help alleviate your anxiety. And low self-esteem, feeling like you're not good enough, feeling like you can't handle situations, feeling like defeated and beaten and all of this negative stuff that comes along with having a low self-esteem. I can only convey my thing, which I'm going to do a completely separate video on self-esteem. I think it's going to be something I'm going to actually write some points down, because my self-esteem and self-confidence has been a great challenge for me, a great challenge. And when I look at the evidence of my life and how I influence people and stuff, it swings, you know. So I would say that I'm at the most confident, highest self-esteem I've ever had right now, and my anxiety is still there, it's still present, but it's not as potent. It doesn't sting quite as bad, you know. And just knowing that I have the self-confidence that I can handle anything, because I can handle anything, because I've already been through the worst shit of my life, and I'm here, and I'm healthy. I've lost people that I didn't think I would ever lose. I've had people that I've looked at that I've been like, I don't know what I would do without you in my life. I don't know how I would ever go on if this relationship ended, whether it was romantic or not. And I haven't talked to some of those people in years, and it hurts, but I'm here, you know. There was another thing I wanted to bring up that was important. Self-confidence. Well, that's going to be it for now because I completely lost my train of thought of what I was going to say about anxiety. So I'll make another video when I remember and I write it down. Yeah, I hope all you guys have a great day. Really work on yourself. Your happiness is your number one job. It's not going to get better on its own. You have to work. You have to work. You have to do the work. It's shitty. Trust me, I know. But you can either sit in it and hurt all the time, or you can do some work, hurt anyway, and maybe it gets a little bit better at the end. Isn't that worth it? Aren't you worth it? Get it done, guys.